Welcome back to Brandsplaining. I am Alexandra Irina Nicole Briguglio Lefevre.
And I am Lindsay Ann Roche. And we wanted you to know our whole names. You have so many names.
I know. It's so embarrassing. It's so long.
Gosh, I told my mom over the weekend that when I get married, I was thinking of dropping Ann and turning Rush into my middle name. Like my little sister did it. And you would have thought I told her, because her middle name is Ann.
Oh, yeah.
You would have thought I told her. And so then all weekend she'd be like, Lindsay Ann. Well, I mean, formerly Ann. And I was like, oh, drama.
You better not ever change it, because it'll be the last breath she takes on this earth is going, Lindsay Ann.
They'll be like, Mindy, what's your last wish? I wish my second daughter would have kept my middle name. I don't know why she's falling off a cliff.
And she takes you out of the will. And that's her reason. Oh, boy.
Isn't that how Mr. Peanut passed away? He fell off a cliff?
He did, yeah.
Wow, you got dark start. We actually talk about Mr. Peanut later in today's episode.
Coming full circle. Look at that. So our guest today was wonderful. It's Tyler Calder, who is the director of content for Girls Night In. And if you're not familiar with Girls Night In, they are a community and weekly newsletter that's really exploring the ways we unwind, take care, and make friends into adulthood. And they also just launched something called The Lounge, which is their new membership platform. So you can connect both in real life and online. They're obviously primarily online right now because of everything going on in the world. But yeah, it's pretty fantastic. And it's a very refreshing take on just learning how to relax and enjoy yourself and make adult friendships at this age.
Right. Which I feel like not enough people are talking about, and is something that people really crave. Yeah, we got into a lot of interesting things, but I feel like one of my favorite things was talking about how social care is like a really helpful form of taking care. And I just love the word lounge. It makes me feel like,
oh yeah,
really relaxed. So we have been fans of Girls Night In as a brand, from our humor and fun branding perspective, because they use fun and candor in their branding and messaging. And really they use levity to open dialogue and foster community, which is just one of our favorite things to see people do.
Yeah.
And so we just had a blast talking with Tyler. She and I have been internet friends, DMing about nail art and snacks for a really long time. So it was exciting to talk to her about Girls Night In's ethos and brand strategy. And we covered a lot.
Yeah.
And so we're just going to tell you about a few things that we talked about so you can whet your palate. Is that the right?
Dip your toe in the episode pool.
Yeah, whet your appetite. I, as someone who specializes in words, I take two idioms and cross them over. Remember yesterday I said something about being under the roof, but I meant something else. Anyway, let's talk about what we talked about.
Anecdotes,
Tyler.
So yeah, we and it's funny. I always love that Lindsay has these wonderful internet friends, and I am like the troll living under the internet bridge who peeks out for these episodes only. I'm like, who goes there?
And you're like, wait, so you guys went to college together? I'm like, no. And you're like, oh, so you guys were on the same kickball team? I'm like, no. How do I put this in terms you can understand? We follow each other on social media.
Ooh. But yes, I did pop back into present day for this interview. So they do a lot of brand partnerships and collaborations. And so we talked a lot about having a distinct brand personality and how that really allows you to foster those. And I think that's a really important thing, because they are so deeply rooted in integrity and authenticity and who they are. And so that really allows them to know who they want to partner with and pair up with through Girls Night In.
Yeah, I feel like that differentiation is not just for your consumers and your audience, but also for people that you want to partnership with and collab. It's the reason we had them on the podcast, right? Yeah. And so I loved when Tyler was telling us about how Girls Night In wants to take sort of with their content, they want to take a very thoughtful approach and resisting sort of the urge to put out frivolous content or clickbait, even if you know you feel that that's going to be the most marketable, and choosing to stay rooted in your values and things that are aligned with the message you want to get across, even if it takes more work or even if your competitors aren't doing it. And I feel like that's a really good takeaway.
Yeah, it's a very tortoise approach, and I appreciate that because
Mhm.
I think everyone is trying to do things like fast and quick, and so it's so nice and refreshing to hear of a brand who's willing to be thoughtful in terms of the content they put out. So that
Right.
was yeah, that was awesome. And we also got into this really interesting convo around not being afraid to have a countercultural message because it can really help you carve out your niche in your industry and find your people. And and
Yep.
then and I think they really carry that through. They're very thoughtful, integral brand approach, and they've really seen it pay off in the long haul in terms of consumer loyalty. And we're just like firm believers in that. So that was really nice to hear.
Yeah, I think it's like a perfect example of first, they're this newsletter that goes out every Friday. I know they started out with book clubs in IRL before pre-COVID. And so then to have developed, like now they have this offering, which is the lounge and it's a membership site. And all of that is coming to fruition because these people trust these people, their audience trusts them and knows what they're in for. And we just find that like fun and humor and levity are such distinct ways to be out in the world and carve your niche and have a presence that is like memorable and distinct and makes you a household name and you know instinctively what they're about. And then we close everything, which my favorite way to close it, which is talking about snacks and specifically snack necklaces, which you'll have to listen to find out what we mean by that. But it
Yeah,
was a blast talking to Tyler. We think you guys are going to learn a lot and have a really good time. And she nailed our game. She was 2 for 2.
she was. Yeah, I was
She
really
was.
impressed. That was great. She didn't even hesitate.
No.
We didn't even get through all the clues, and she was boom. Yeah, she
I
knew it.
know because I obviously we're writing this game and we're coming up with the information, but I sometimes wonder if I would be able to guess these brand mascots.
Yeah.
I was gonna say you have a really good brand recall. You're always like, remember this guy? And I'm like, whoa.
Listeners, you probably don't realize this yet, but I have a lot of knowledge from the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, and that's where it really tapers off. So as you'll see, I probably could really shine during this game.
I feel like because we didn't have cable TV as a kid, we like lived on a farm and our mom was like, go climb a tree. So I feel like I missed some of those. They weren't as inundated into my like brain. I don't have the memories of like, oh, that was that guy. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
What I'm saying is I was a good outdoor kid and you were a TV rat. I'm just kidding. That's not what I was saying.
Which is the opposite now.
Yeah. No, I'm not a TV rat.
No, I was outside. I was out bike riding. I used to collect this is so embarrassing. I shouldn't even tell this. Like a big thing we would do in my neighborhood, which makes me sound like I lived in a junkyard, is drive around and collect bottle caps off the street, which are like how filthy and dirty, sticky. And we used to collect them and we'd wash them in a colander in the sink, and then we'd keep them in a bag.
That was the end goal, was just keeping it in a bag. I thought you got money off of bottle caps, like a cent or something like that. Oh, maybe that's crushed cans.
If we were supposed to, we really missed out on that treasure.
You're probably sitting on a fortune. Your mom's probably selling them on Facebook Marketplace as we speak.
Oh, 100%. If we know Nance, yeah, she's peddling bottle caps. Well, with that, enjoy this episode. It was great.
And now, for all the women in the business of being women in business. For girl bossy bosses and boss girly girls. For CEOs, mogals, and branding babes ready to make herstory. Please put your lady hands together and welcome to the stage, Brandsplaining.
Chat with you today, Tyler. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. This is a welcome reprieve from, the long days that we've all been experiencing recently. I'm thrilled.
Thank you so much. Tyler and I feel like we've been Instagram friends for a number of years. I don't even remember really how we found each other, but it feels as though I know you, but this is the first time we're like talking face to face.
It is the first time that we're talking face to face. So the reason that we are Instagram friends, I believe, is because I knew that you were an incredible copywriter. And I was a little baby copywriter, trying to figure out who to look up to, and found it in you. So thank you for all of that, for years of copy inspo.
I love that. I saw that you used to work for Living Social. You did copywriting for Living Social. I freelanced for them. I
Really?
imagine it wasn't over the same. I would write their like daily deals. that had to be very, very funny and punny. They wanted like 7 jokes per 4 lines of copy.
Yes, I am assuming that you might have done that a little bit before my time. They were very punny, very jokey, very wordplay centric in those years. The style definitely was very joke heavy. Very joke heavy.
Something we do love to ask folks, and particularly because we aim to be a little bit of the antithesis of this on brandsplaining. If you had to be called one of the following, what would you choose? Your options are girl boss, lady boss, entrepreneur, power babe, or mogal. Oh, one other, or CEO.
Oh goodness gracious. None of the above. I mean, is that an option? You know, I think once upon a time, maybe that vocabulary did something to make people feel a little bit better and a little more included. But I mean, we've learned so much this year and we'll continue to learn that, you know, we have a long way to go in terms of inclusivity, and it's not going to happen with CEO, in my opinion. So I would just like to be recognized, you know, with the same vocabulary you'd use otherwise, and then we can move forward from there.
I feel like something that brandsplaining has in common with Girls Night In and sort of like what you're talking about there is this like belief that there isn't just one way to speak to a certain demographic. Because I'm sure there are still people who maybe feel inspired by the like power babe, lady boss, and that's great for them. But I think a key part of branding, of course, is like finding your people and speaking to them in ways that other people aren't, or that makes them, something you said to us that makes them feel seen, that I really like. And so I think, you know, we're not trying to like shit on that culture as much as we're trying to speak to people in a way that maybe they like need to hear. And I feel like Girls Night In does that well.
Thank you. That's a big compliment. I mean, I just feel like at the core of the way that we'd want to be speaking to people is like you want people to feel seen. And like you said, like if girl boss and lady boss and CEO does that for people, that's one approach, but I don't particularly feel seen in those words. So I kind of appreciate a shift away from them and into kind of more clear terms. Like, why are we not speaking clearly to each other about what it is that we want and what it is that we want to bring other women along for on the ride? I don't know. I think good copy is clear copy, right? So good messaging is clear messaging, and I think so much gets lost in like the trying to create you know, these new terms. It doesn't quite do it for me.
Yep.
Yeah, I hear that.
One of the first questions we have for you, we've given people sort of an intro into the Girls Night In mission, but what would you have to say? Like, what's a way to sum up like what Girls Night In is trying to do and what you want people to know about Girls Night In?
Yeah. So Girls Night In is a community first, but also a weekly newsletter that goes out on Friday mornings. And sort of the central theme is we, you know, invite people in who are excited by and interested in learning more about how we unwind, take care, and make friends, and, you know, sustain those important relationships in our life. I think for us, like 3 of the most important tenets to like just overall care are those 3 items. So that's mainly what we focus on. And you know, at first you might wonder what the difference is between unwinding and taking care. But I think that this year in particular has kind of illuminated some of those differences.
Yeah.
I love that you said make friends too. I think that's such a big piece is the community aspect. I remember watching this TED Talk years ago, and this woman was a medical doctor and talking about how our ability to form and sustain community is the biggest predictor of a long, fulfilled, healthy life. More than any other factor, you know, what you eat, exercise routine, stress levels, sleep habits, etc. So I think it's really cool that that's so embedded into just the ethos of Girls Night In.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think, you know, our founder and CEO, Alicia Ramos, should get a lot of credit since the beginning, since I've known her. These past 3 years, she has always talked about social wellness, even when maybe there was the peak of the self-care language going on, where people were very focused on, you know, maybe self-care means that I cancel all my plans. And my conversations with her were always about, there's this third component to physical and mental health and wellness, and it's social wellness. And community is kind of like at the crux of that. So huge part of what we're hoping to do.
How do you think any of those beliefs or those countercultural to like the way wellness or self-care can be either like hustle based or commodified? How do you think that mindset has fueled the branding of Girls Night In or the messaging or like your role in content in terms of like catering to other people and addressing those issues?
In terms of G&I's content, you obviously never want to try and speak to everybody. But at the same time, when you're trying to build something that's inclusive, you have to speak to a lot of people, right? You can't just validate one experience. So I think that in terms of G&I content, we try our best, and we're still learning. We're still a small team, and we're building something here that we want people to be able to resonate with, and we want this to serve people as they try to take care. So in terms of G&I content, we're always trying and thinking about the balance and the push and pull, right? Of, how do we give people the sort of low-hanging fruit content that they want sometimes when they're thinking about Friday and winding down and they just want a little bit of a mental break. But how do we also challenge them a little bit to think about care practices that are maybe not just easy, bite-sized, marketable, and made for one type of person. So, like what that comes down to is being willing to learn. And that's a huge part of what we're doing this year is trying to learn, right? So like an example of this would be usually in our newsletter each week, maybe we'll suggest like a recipe, but we all know what's going on in food media. Like the recipes that we're trying to source, like a big question that we're asking ourselves is how do we get to, the people who originally made these recipes? How do we explore tradition and culture in terms of care through food? Right. It's not going to be the first click and the highest SEO blog, I can assure you of that. So it's going to take digging, and it's going to take a little commitment. And we're trying to present more cookbooks and more like foundational texts and really get to the source a little bit more often. And, I don't think by any stretch we're perfect or we're there yet, but these are the questions we're asking ourselves when we're curating each week is like, do I really want to share a recipe that is a quick and easy version of something that is part of somebody's heritage? Like, I don't know.
Right.
Maybe there's a reason that it takes a long time. And let's interrogate that a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's such a challenge, especially, in the world of social media and digital. And we deal with that a lot as well. What does integrity look like? I think balancing integrity and also balancing marketability and trying to grow a business while also taking certain paths that are sort of like the long road when all around you, you're sort of seeing quick and flash fired content, especially. And so something that we were drawn to Girls Night In about is your brand's use of levity to foster community in a lot of ways. And it feels like play. We were trying to articulate it, Allie and I, yesterday when we were thinking about this interview, and we're like, it's like restful play. Like unwinding can be like regenerative and energizing and creative. It's just not.
And like internal, you get to look within and find joy and solace and delight there.
Yeah. So I guess the question is, we've experienced firsthand, I think, with our brand, how levity helps people open up and connect. And we think it's key for creating community. How have you seen some of that approach that Girls Night In takes through like candor and levity to like help grow the community or foster trust and loyalty?
I'm so glad you're talking about this. This makes me so happy. It's like restful play, playful rest, right? It's, like we said, a balance. No week is going to have a perfect like 50-50 split because different weeks call for different things. But I think in community building specifically, as we've launched like our membership this year called the Lounge, levity has played a big role, right? So when people think about their leisure, they want to think about relaxing. So I think it kind of like goes back to this balance, right? And this push and pull and recognizing when we can sort of lean into lighter moments and play and leisure and the slow, and when we can teach or challenge or explore something a little bit more meaningful or pressing together. I think that both are so important, and that kind of like circles back to what we were saying a little bit earlier about the GNI mission being focused on how we unwind, take care, and make friends. That unwind and take care, I think they're two very different and very important parts of the puzzle, right? So taking care allows us to explore and dig a little deeper, and unwinding a little more lighthearted. So the unwinding content is where you'll see us bring levity into play more often. It's where we'll see something funny and relatable, and we'll involve pets and just like laugh together about the ways that we unwind, and kind of like our humanness in it all, of like wanting to really separate from other people at some points so that we can re-engage. And that's where the take care part comes back in, right? Is the re-engaging with the world around us and the people around us. So I think that unwind and the take care part of our mission play a huge role in the balance of levity and a little bit more substance.
I love that. We always say that you can make something lighthearted without making light of it.
Yes.
And I really think that, as an agency and just as individuals, when you create a space with the foundation of being light and open and joyful, it really does just open people's hearts and their minds. And I think it builds a sense of ease and a sense of comfort, and people can relax into a conversation. Because I think people are, especially connecting via the internet, you can be on the defense and mistrustful of walking into certain dynamics. And I think you guys have just done a delightful job in your branding of really creating and cultivating a space where people know that they're walking into somewhere that is welcoming, and I think is such a wonderful experience. I mean,
that's what I was going to say.
Even in the naming devices of your parent company being No Plans and Girls Night In, like it's a play on obviously Girls Night Out and just these external experiences that we're all like seeking, or maybe we were really after in our early 20s. And then this new, which we're going to talk about later, the new offering you've created, the lounge. They all have this playful and unorthodox and candid and casual sense about them that really just root you in this idea of unwinding and relaxation and ease. And I think it's so refreshing. So thank you for that. I really I think we're so appreciative of what you've cultivated so far.
That's really kind. So I want to thank you for that. You all are experts in this space, so it makes me feel great that you're picking up on these things, and we hope that others are as well. But I have to give, like you said, so much credit to our community team, Olivia and Marianne, who are building and creating safe spaces every day in what we do. And that takes, a lot of care, a lot of thoughtfulness, and they're just like incredible at thinking these things through and making sure people feel welcomed and making sure people feel cared for genuinely. And I love watching what they do, but it's only because of that we're able to provide levity via content, right? Because when people feel safe, they feel like they can let their guard down a little. They feel like they can be in a trusting space that allows for difficult conversation, but also allows for that lightheartedness. And it's really only possible because of the work that they do. And I'm just like very proud and grateful I get to work with them.
Yeah. What a great experience to be working with people that like you said, take care. I feel like consumers can tell, or the right consumers, the right audience, the right community that you want to draw near to you will be able to tell the difference between that and something else. I think it's always worthwhile. That would be my message to listeners of this episode, is carving a niche and speaking candidly and openly about like who you are and who you're not and who you're for. I think even though it feels like the harder road sometimes, I think is always worthwhile. And I do feel like in terms of the branding names, we were talking about earlier about the overly branded CEO, Power Babe stuff. I think something that doesn't ring true for certain people is that it feels fluffy. There feels like a little bit of hot air. It feels overproduced almost. And so I think what I like about a lot of Girls Night In branding is it's playful, but it's very candid. There's some wordplay and some twists, but you know instinctively, No Plans, Girls Night In, the lounge. And I think that breeds trust. Like something Allie and I have learned through developing this agency based in humor is that all these different like humor tones elicit a different emotional response in people. So like shock value, for example, could be right for one brand because it's going to make people feel a certain way. But to me, candor and like this lightheartedness creates a real like kinship and like trust. Anyway, so I know we get nerdy about those nuances, but it does, I think it's powerful.
Yeah.
It feels like authenticity is a big part of Girls Night In's branding and like offerings. When you're looking to partner with brands or sponsorships or some of those business side things, collaborations, what are some things you're looking for in partners to make sure that you're in alignment and that they're a good fit?
The true masters of this craft are our partnerships team, Jenny and Katrina, who are absolutely phenomenal at what they do. But of course, with any sort of partnership, there is like a content component, right? There is a moment of checking in that a partner's messaging aligns with our messaging. So I think that something that's important to us is that whatever brand we're working with, it represents an interest of our audience, right? It represents something our audience wants to know more about, right? Because that's the good stuff, is like we're community and a brand that's known for recommending things. So it's important to us that these would be brands that we would organically recommend as well. And that's kind of like a good measuring stick for us. Is it's important to us that someone on our team feels passionately about a brand, or that it represents something our audience has asked for. Like one of my recent favorite partners of ours is Parade, which is an underwear company that is new this year. But yeah, we've had readers ask us, like, I don't have a go-to underwear company or like a go-to bra company. Like it does represent a reader ask, because it is, you know, a more inclusive brand. There are more sizes available, and their practices are a little slower, which often our readers ask for and care about. Is that it's not like an instant gratification brand. There's a little more thoughtfulness in how it's made. So, you know, I love when partners like that come through, because first of all, I think they're doing a great job with their branding, but separate from that, it like represents a values alignment, right? And that's, I love that.
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful because you have such a clear brand and you know who you are and what you stand for. And GNI is very clear in terms of their mission. I would imagine it lends itself to much more organic partnerships being developed, because like it's a very quick litmus test. We're rooted in authenticity. We're rooted in these core values. Like, does someone mirror that?
Yeah, I mean, it's always a pleasure when we can kind of geek out behind the scenes about working with a brand we already love. And now I'm going to share that with you from a really genuine space. I love those moments. Gosh, listening to loungers who are talking in our lounge Slack about, you know, needing X type of product to help facilitate their own like home routines. And it's so fun and gratifying when you can connect the dots in that way.
I love that. Cool. Oh my gosh, you call them loungers?
Yeah.
That's really cute.
Like, that's so cute. Like formally, like internally, you guys call them that, or like they call themselves?
I think we just always from the start, we're like, the lounge, they're going to be loungers. So we'll start our emails with, hey, loungers and stuff like that. Aren't we all like, that's, you know, since day one at GNI, that's the common thread, is we love to lounge.
Love a lounge. Well, so tell us more about the lounge, since we're kind of, you know, organically here. So first of all, tell us a little bit more about what it is, and then how you see it offering maybe something different or fresh compared to some of the existing women-centric membership communities that exist right now, or that some folks might be familiar with.
Yeah. So we launched the lounge earlier this summer, I want to say around July. And, you know, for about 9 months before that, we had a beta test going in DC. But yeah, the lounge is a space for GNI readers and now members who are interested in these common themes: unwind, take care, make friends, grow community, to come together. Like we, for 2 years before this, had book clubs in 9 cities across the US and also in Toronto. And I think that to this day that they were very beloved spaces. Like people were so excited to be able to connect with others in their community that also cared about these things, and who maybe like staying home more than the norm back when that was not the only option. And, you know, they were great spaces for connection. And what we were hearing was that people obviously loved reading and coming together around the books, but also wanted other reasons to come together and talk to other GNI readers. And so the lounge was born, which offers gatherings, which are now virtual, but were originally in real life. It just offers other types of leisure-based gatherings, right? So we have we have book club still, we have cookbook club, we have, craft, different sort of like thematic craft gatherings. We have podcast groups and watch parties and all of this virtual programming that's allowing people, especially if they live alone or are feeling the loneliness of this moment, to come together and meet others who are also in that space and really get to know them, but through the lens of a shared hobby or interest. And typically that hobby or interest is a little more homebound. So things that you like to do anyway, you're now doing with people who sort of are like-minded. And, we have our Slack community that encompasses this group now. I think we just hit I want to say our 1,000th member, or we're just about there. Wow. And it is exciting and it's been lovely. But it's just been great to watch people have those conversations and turn to each other for sourcing whatever it is that they're looking for to make themselves more comfortable or more cared for, especially in this moment.
Yeah. I like so much the word clubs. It feels very like back in the day when you were younger and you just did hobbies for the sake of hobbies. Like, I feel like there's sometimes a pressure to turn anything you like into like a side hustle, or like, oh, wait, I might be good at this. Now maybe that should be, not that there's anything wrong with making money off of something you're talented at or enjoy, but I love that this just pure leisure interest with like-minded people without, I don't know. I just think that's important for taking care. Makes me feel good. Makes me feel warm.
Yeah, it's fun. It is so nostalgic. Just like, how many different clubs did we form when we were kids? There was a club for everything that we were minorly interested in.
I feel like I've gotten a reputation in our in our little team as like always being down to like recommend like a friendship bracelet or like a similar camp craft. I'm like, yeah, I'm in. Okay, we'll put it in the newsletter. And I'm sure everyone is like, okay, enough with the friendship bracelets, Tyler. But
I was just telling Allie about Wear Your Snacks.
One of my favorite recommendations.
That's a recommendation from you. And it's necklaces. It's like beaded necklaces and bracelets that you can either customize with your favorite food item or snack. And then proceeds go to a nonprofit organization, right? Benefiting Black trans people, I believe. The Okra Project. Is that right?
Yeah. So Okra Collective was the month that I bought, I believe, was Okra Collective. It changes monthly, like who a portion of proceeds go to. I think, it was just a maker who decided that she was going to spend this time like bringing joy to people in this way. And I just really found out about this account. I think it's at Wear Your Snacks. You're right. I bought one for myself that said bagels. My best friend is cool and a lot cooler than I am. And so I got her a beef tartare one, which is, we got specific for her.
As a snack? Wow.
Yeah, it says everything from like
okay.
Cornichon, like truly Wear Your Snacks, but like it's all food. One just says butter. I almost got for my sister.
Yeah.
Allie, what would yours say? Aioli? There was
my God, I was just gonna say that aioli. Yeah, I mean,
I saw an aioli.
If I guess I wouldn't be consuming it as a standalone, but I could dip. Anything you can hand me, I would dip into aioli. It's like the first thing when I look at a menu, I comb a menu for like, ooh, do they have aioli? Ooh, is it garlic? Ooh.
Mine says chips. I was really torn between chips and Doritos, but I feel like I've overmade Doritos a part of my personal brand, and I wanted to ease back on that a little bit.
It's a good first step.
Listeners of our fan fiction podcast called Fangasm now, like, I feel like directly associate me with Doritos because we've made too many jokes about it or references. And so I'm like, I want, just chips.
I really appreciate
rebranding
the amount of pressure I put on myself in making the decision around my snack bracelet or necklace.
Oh, I was torn for a long time, and I was because I liked beef tartare. I love beef tartare. We pre-COVID we wanted to have a bar crawl in Chicago of all the best tartare places, which I don't know how much tartare. We're going to call it a beef tartare bar crawl, like a tartare bar. And of course, we're going to make t-shirts, but maybe
at one point we were going to do a donut crawl as well.
Oh yeah, yum!
It's really just all for the t-shirts.
It was called Donut Stop Believin'. That also fell by the wayside.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, boy.
Okay, Tyler, you are wonderful. We're gonna end with a game, and this is not a trick. It's a game that's based off of the game Guess Who, if you remember that game, but it's about brand mascots. So either like characters, logos, those sorts of things. And we're going to read you a few clues, and you have to guess. And if you don't know, you can ask yes or no questions, just like in Guess Who. Like,
Okay.
Are they an animal? Are they a this?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, Allie, which one do you want to do? The first one or the second one?
I'll do the first one.
Okay.
This warms my heart. Okay. You ready, Tyler?
I'm ready. I'm buckled up.
Okay. This charming mascot has a head shaped like a chip, an impressive mustache, but no mouth, and a red bow tie.
Oh my gosh. Is it the Pringles guy?
Sure is. Extra points if you know his name.
Oh
We
my
did not know
God.
his name.
I didn't know who's sorry to this man. I don't know what his name is.
His name, my friends, is Julius Pringles.
First name Julius, last name Pringles.
Yes. Also, it's some fun facts about Julius is first appeared in 1967, and there have been over 100 flavors of Pringles, including grilled shrimp and pumpkin pie spice.
Ooh,
so we're a
pumpkin
perfect
pie.
season
Ooh.
to embark on the pumpkin pie spice.
I'm not into that one.
The way you read that sort of sounded like they were a sponsor. A few things about Pringles, and once you pop, they can't stop. So just swipe up.
Put a code in the checkout. Is brand you'll get 10% off your first order.
It's Julius20. We also learned that the founder of Pringles asked for part of his ashes to be buried in a Pringles can, and his kids did it.
Oh,
But they picked up the can on the way to the
Funeral parlor.
burial.
oh my
funeral parlor.
gosh.
Like it wasn't like a sacred can. It was just a generic, just any old can.
Yeah, not like the very first Pringles can. They were just like grabbed one at Walgreens.
Could have been, yeah.
Oh gosh.
Okay, so this next one and the last one. Okay, here's the clue. This mascot first appeared in 1928. He is super tall. His entire body is green, and he roams the valley booming, ho, ho, ho. His clothing is a one-strap romper made of vegetable leaves, and he has an apprentice named Sprout.
And it's not Santa. Don't let the ho 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 throw you off.
I did not know his apprentice was named Sprout, but this has to be the Jolly Green Giant, right?
Yay!
I'm sweating.
We didn't know about his apprentice either, but Allie remembered that because he's little, he's like a little guy, and so he's like to tell kids that vegetables are cool.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
He's like a little like Bam Bam from the Flintstones.
Changed
right?
my life. Yeah, it is. Game changer.
It's like if the Jolly Green Giant, it should have been like the Jolly Green like Sprout or the Jolly Green Baby or the Jolly Green something.
Talk about clear copy.
Yeah. Excuse me, Green Giant. I've got some, or what's the name of the brand? Yeah, Green Giant. I've got some feedback, some copy edits.
Sprout didn't grow into his adjectives yet.
Do you all remember when like the Mr. Peanut rebrand happened earlier this year? Can you even believe that was this year?
Yeah. Yeah, that was VaynerMedia that did that.
Oh.
We almost gave you Baby Peanut as one of these.
We toyed around.
I forgot that the Kool-Aid Man's tear brought the Baby Peanut to life because all those mascots came to the funeral, Mr. Peanut's funeral. That had to have been a very special brainstorm. Yeah. I was gonna say like a drug induced or like boozy because they were just
that was psychedelics for sure.
Yeah. Oof.
Well, you did great. That was great. 2 for 2. Congratulations. Okay, so the last thing is where should we direct people to check Girls Night Out in or the lounge, or where do you want people to go?
Yeah. So for anyone interested in Girls Night In, you can subscribe to our newsletter at girlsnightin.co. You can just enter your email there, and then you get a little slice of Unwind, Take Care, Make Friends every Friday morning, or on social at Girls Night In Club.
Yay!
Oh, lovely. You are a total delight. You've been wonderful to have on as a guest. Thank you for spending this time with us. You're the best.
This is so fun. I knew it would be fun, and all good vibes confirmed. So thank you for that.
Yes. to stay up to date with the Bad Girls of Branding, a nickname we gave ourselves, subscribe to the podcast everywhere you listen. And if you like what you're hearing, leave a 5-star review.
And follow us at Brandsplaining on Instagram and Facebook, and at Brandsplain on Twitter, or go to brandsplainingpod.com.
Brandsplaining is brought to you by the Obedient Podcast Network, with production support by Martini Hill, cover art illustration by Halela, and special projects by Orly Spire.
Other podcasts developed by the Obedient Podcast Network include Forward, bringing you the weirdest emails and mass messages from everyone's craziest relatives, and Fangasm, where we read erotic fan fiction about your favorite TV, movie, and book characters. Think Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, The Office, and Star Wars, to name a few.